My head may still be full of amnesia, but the risks Tommy and Edge have taken to free me have got me feeling troubled. Now they want me to punish Neo-Paris's privileged few. Edge talks about a clandestine mission to be accomplished in the heart of the Saint-Michel Comfortress. About a brutal wake-up of this high-security district, making it fertile for the seeds of revolution. And why not? Though his fight is legitimate, it's his friendship that has been clinging to my drifting thoughts. Why did our enemies erase my memory? Am I really that dangerous? In my chest, my throat, on the tips of my fingers, I can feel the throb of the power that scares them so. It scares me too. The power to take what someone is, their memories, and bend them to my will. To rewrite their history. To play God. The mere thought sends me reeling. If this ability really is the core of who I once was, then I must relearn what has been taken from me. I must master this talent.
There are often games that gather some hype and headlines when they first come out, but soon get forgotten, which is ironic for this game as it's called Remember Me. Anyway, so what is Remember Me? This is a cyberpunk third-person action-adventure game set in Neo Paris in the year 2084. This is published by Capcom and made by Dontnod Entertainment. In this future, people share and store their memories. A mega corporation called Memorize offers this service, and people can remove bad memories, etc. if they want. They can also share their memories with their loved ones. Of course, as you can expect, there are massive side effects to this, with some people having memory glitches, broken psyches, and many other problems. Some of these basically become zombies with no memories, and they are called leapers in the game. These are the main enemies you fight along with some corporate soldiers later on. So you play as Nilin, a memory hunter. At the start of the game, we see Nilin getting her memory wiped, but somehow resisting enough to remember her name. A mysterious person named Edge contacts her and helps her break out of prison just before her entire memory gets wiped clean. We spend the rest of the game trying to take down the corporation and trying to piece together Nilin's memory. Now let's talk about the good and the bad of the game. First up is the story and the setting. This I found to be excellent, much better than I expected. And even though I've played a lot of games, one or two twists and turns were a bit unexpected, and the story did not go down the cliched path as usual with these games. The presentation was also good, the voice acting was also very well done. The combat, while at first seemed a bit complicated, was actually a lot more straightforward. The game gives you a few abilities and you have to chain together combos to take down enemies. It felt a bit overwhelming at first, but I just used the simplest combo and used some of the presents, which are basically something you can use to either get some health back or do more damage or reduce the cooldown of some of your abilities if you chain together combos. The combos were a variation of pressing the X and Y button on the controller in different combinations. The simplest one being pressing the X button 3 times, and then others where you have to press in various combinations like X, Y, Y, X, or X, X, Y, 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 something like that. So X 3 times was just easy to remember, especially when you have like a bunch of enemies attacking at the same time. Now this meant the fights lasted longer, but I rarely died, and with the use of the abilities, it worked out overall. Speaking of combat, I would highly recommend controller for this game. I don't think keyboard and mouse works at all for this game due to how the combat works. It lacked a lock-on system on enemies, so you would get hit from enemies that you didn't see, although the game does highlight any incoming attacks. With some bosses you had quick time events, and it wasn't a big deal, but once again due to the camera there were moments where you didn't see the button prompts. Overall the combat wasn't anything too great, and at times felt like it was a bit of padding between different story sections. Besides the combat, the game was surprisingly heavy on parkouring, which was something I did not expect going into this. But it was pretty straightforward for the most part. There were some puzzle sections, and since Nilin is a memory hunter, we also had some interesting sections called remixing memories. This was an interesting mechanic which wasn't used a lot. Basically, you could access someone's memory and change some details to have a different outcome. This was only used a handful of times in the game, but I felt could have been used a bit more. The game is not open world, but they did try to add a few collectibles here and there in the different levels that gave you some extra health or focus boost, and also some items that would explain the lore of the world. Next, graphics. Looked pretty good for a 2013 game, and I did notice a few frame drops every time we moved to a new section or when a new cutscene started. Not a big issue, but was a bit weird seeing frame drops on a 10-year-old game. Overall, I enjoyed the game a lot, mostly due to the great story. It took me around 10 hours to finish, but more realistically, it should take you anywhere between 7 to 10 if you focused a bit more on combat and getting the right combos, etc. The game is also frequently on sale, and you should get it at 80% off, which is around $6 or 360 rupees in India. I think this is a great hidden gem that you should check out when you see it on sale. Reminded me a bit of Enslaved Odyssey to the West for some reason, even though I felt the combat was better in Enslaved. Anyway, that's my quick review for Remember Me. A decent game you can get very cheaply these days, and yeah, definitely give it a try if you like a cyberpunk setting or some interesting sci-fi sort of stories. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.